Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the opening of the Prairie Sentinels Park. Um, Thank you for braving the weather and being here with us this afternoon. About a year and a half ago, the idea was born, the whole idea of this park, and today that vision is reality. I especially want to thank the ladies of the Deloraine Winchester Historical Society's Management Committee, because they have put their hearts and souls into this park. And there's some of our ladies here at the back, behind cameras, they're hiding. Some of them are fulfilling their media obligations as well. Without delay, I want to call on Gord Weidenhammer, our reef, to say a few words. He's not only our reef, he's a cattle farmer. And as you would have noticed in town today, he's also a table and a chair courier. He is tonight also a barman, and he fulfills a lot of roles in this community. Ladies and gentlemen, Gord Weidenhammer.
Thank you, Amanda. I guess everybody probably wonders how this all came to be, and I guess without echoing on any of the history of the park and the past names, the community came forward and asked that we come up with a new idea. So with the newly formed Historic Society, we as council approached them and said, we'll leave that in your hands, and they basically came forward with a lot of brainstorming and of course came up with the name Prairie Sentinel Park. And I think today is going to be a great opportunity for everyone to see what these lovely ladies have done as far as brainstorming. A lot of hard work and dedication has gone into it. So we didn't even argue when they came forward with that name. That was a beautiful name, and it's a great tribute to our history of our area. So I, for one, echoing the rest of the council, thank them for their hard work and dedication. Through COVID, I might add that, communication and research probably put a little hinder to that. So they were very enthusiastic, and I'm very proud of these ladies. They will explain everything to you, who's on the committee, and I'm just here to thank them and what they've done right down to the day. I don't know if we've ever had a street dance in our community. In my memory, we probably have way back, but I think we have a fun evening and dedication. Feel free to look around and see the work that these ladies have put in, and I'd just like to give them a hand and say thank you, and look forward to the evening.
Before I do the layout and the logistics of the evening or today, I want to introduce you to these wonderful ladies. Here behind the camera is Anne Day. She is also our project manager on our Historical Society, covering all our media, and she will do our fireside stories and so forth as well to capture our oral history. On this side is Jan, and I'm going to pronounce her surname incorrect tonight, McClellan. Jan is the project manager for the Prairie Sentinels Park. Next to her is Anne Preston. Anne is our events coordinator for the Historical Society. And next to her is Peg Sanders, which is the co-chair. And Peg is also doing the historical downtown Deloraine project. Next to her is Helen Trudeau. She is our secretary, and she's involved in all our projects. And then at the table here is Judy Welsh. Judy is also involved in all our projects. She's covering media for us as well, just like Anne. And these are very hardworking ladies, very enthusiastic and dynamic, I must say. And we are all very, very excited about the future of Deloraine. Although we're a historical society, we look towards the future. And then I must say we have coined the phrase hashtag Proudly Deloraine, and we want all our community members to use it when you place anything on Facebook relevant to Deloraine, to use that hashtag as well. So getting to the logistics, this event tonight, the opening part of this is non-licensed, so everybody obviously is welcome. After the event or the opening has closed, we would ask everybody to just go outside behind the band, because you will need to be scanned for your fully vaccination, and then you will receive a stamp, and you will be able to come through to buy tickets, and then you can buy liquor and enjoy the rest of the evening with us. Before I introduce the highlight of the evening, we want to just also make notice of a few projects that's coming up. The Historical Society, we are going to ask for donations. We are going to ask for sponsorships from our community, and the projects coming up this year, and we're busy already working on, or the next 2 years, is the Historical Downtown project, Senior Project, where we will capture the oral history of our seniors, and then also the digitization of Deloraine newspapers. So we will come and look you in the eye and ask you to contribute to those projects. Thank you for that, and I just want to make sure that I don't forget the most important thing. All the drinks tonight are $4, from beer right through to wine, so and I hope you brought enough money for that. Now I want to call on a very, very special lady. She has spent months, nearly years, doing research on the development, on the elevators in our region. Ladies and gentlemen, our own Indiana Jones of elevators.
That's not the first time I've heard that, but it still makes me laugh. So I'd like to say hello and welcome to everybody who's made it out today. We want to welcome you to Prairie Sentinels Park. We are so excited to be done this project, and we are really thankful that everyone who's here today has come to help us celebrate that. We sincerely hope that you will be as pleased with the end result of the park as we are. And we put a lot of time and effort, as other folks have mentioned, into redeveloping the park, and we are pleased with the end result. So effort is one thing, and financing is a totally different thing. And we wouldn't be here today without the generosity of all the people who have sponsored storyboards for Prairie Sentinels Park. These storyboards tell the history of Deloraine Winchester's elevators during the heyday, if you will, of the small country grain elevator. The sponsor of each board is noted on the storyboards, but in a moment I'm going to read through the list of our sponsors. And if you are a sponsor, if you are employed by a business who sponsored, or if you are a member of an organization that was a sponsor, I would ask you to please stand if you are able, and remain standing until I have finished the list. I think that a visual of It Takes a Village is a great reminder that we accomplish so much more collectively than we do separately. In fact, we had so much enthusiasm about changing over the park to the history of the elevators, and for this being our first project, that we started out actually with 14 storyboards and we ended up with 19 because we had so many people who wanted to participate. So if you are able, please stand. The Deloraine Men's 2000 Club, Kelly and Judy Wells, Deloraine Legion, number 83, Denelda Vandenberg. Sunrise Credit Union, Deloraine Branch. Morrison Agencies. Wealth Planning Group. Meehan Haddad LLP. Franz Hepner Ween's Law Office. The family of Wayne McClelland for Wayne. Doug and Joanne Morningstar. Dwayne Edwards, Delori Nestabo, Darcy Nestabo. Vern and Ruth Gilson and Otter Farms. Tree Lane Farms, the Day family. Naples Siding Honey Company, Crossroad Print Shop, Deanna and Gary Sabin, Shirley and Murray Brown. Hasselfield Drugs, and Warren and Murray Stove and Carpentry. So as you can tell, that's quite a long list, and we thank you so much for your participation. Thank you. So Gord has mentioned how the idea to highlight our elevator, our Prairie Sentinel history, came about. And I remember Amanda asking me at a Historical Society meeting not long after that if I had a timeline for finishing this job. I think I had one storyboard done and the rough outline of the rest of them. So based on what I thought I knew, I said, oh yeah, 10 to 15 days, I think. Well, folks, that 10 to 15 days turned into 3,000 plus hours of 8 to 12 hour days for about 8 months. So it doesn't matter which metaphor you choose to use, whether it's rabbit holes or balls of strings or long road of winding, it has been a journey. For 8 months, I went to sleep thinking about elevators. They were on my mind before I was even awake in the morning. If I opened my mouth, I had to tell somebody about something I just discovered. I'm sure I was a bore because all I could talk about was elevators. So I guess you could say that doing elevator research is how I spent my COVID vacation. But it did become a labor of love early on. There were mysteries to solve. Who built it? Where was it? Why did it disappear? When did it disappear? And an entire cast of interesting fellows, entrepreneurs in a heady, new, and risky business, the grain industry. I also have to mention that there is not one woman in this entire story. And I find it amusing and perhaps just a touch ironic that it took 7 women to bring this history back to life. Deloraine's early days were an exciting time to be in the grain business. Fortunes could be won or lost in a season. Many of the early owners went on to build large, successful companies. At least 3 of them were successful politicians. And it might surprise you to learn that in the early days, Deloraine was a liberal stronghold. They always returned Charlie Young to the house in Winnipeg. Several of those men were also instrumental in developing and sitting on the Winnipeg Grain Exchange in its early days. One of the most haunting stories for me, and one that I couldn't fully tell because of space limitations on the storyboards, is that of James Frederick Dayal of Dayal and Company. Fred was a Souris farmer. He had been born in Ontario, but he grew up in Souris. He also was a merchant. He went into the grain business, and with James and Anson Mann, they formed Dayal and Company, and they built an elevator here in Deloraine in 1896, and it was right about where the car wash sits today. They also built elevators in Souris and Killarney. Fred was a frequent visitor to Winnipeg. He's mentioned constantly in the Winnipeg papers as being in the city on business, and he was a founding shareholder of the Souris Gas Company by 1904. So he was a real up-and-comer. And yet by 1909, Fred had passed away. He died in 1907 at the age of 42. The elevator in Souris had burned down. The elevator in Killarney had burned down. And we're not sure what happened to this elevator because it just simply disappears from record between 1905 and 1911. So Fred was thus lost to history. Souris has no knowledge of him today. They had no information on him when I was doing this research. And I'm excited that we've brought that piece of history back to life. One story you won't find here in the park is the story of William Alexander Whitlaw. He was a pioneer farmer who was killed in an accident in the Young elevator, which is in the middle of the next block, just west of where the Royal Bank sits today. His horses became unmanageable, and he was killed in the aftermath of trying to get the horses under control. But this is where a woman does enter the story very, very briefly. William's widow, Harriet, carried on farming after his death. With their 5 children pitching in, she made a life on the farm, and today that farm is still in the family. It is one of the century farms that's featured in the tourism building that we'll be inviting you to go through after the unveiling. The Whitlaw Weidenhammer farm is now in the hands of the 4th and 5th generations, and I think that's just an incredible story. And then, of course, we have the stars of the show in the park, 23 elevators. So I hope I've whet your appetite for our Prairie Sentinels history. I also hope, as we'll be unveiling the boards in just a few minutes, that you will take the time to wander through. We ask you to start here and just wander through the park and just take in some of the rich, rich history that we have here. But before we do the unveiling, I'm going to take a couple more minutes for some additional thank yous. To everyone who has helped get us here today, to those who have cleaned, groomed, mended, pulled, you name it, in this park over the past couple of months and last fall when we were first starting out and thought we could do a grand opening in May. We thank you for all of the help that you've been. For those who tracked down names and photographs of bygone grain buyers or contributed stories, again, thank you. The list of those who have helped make this park a reality, in addition to our sponsors, is long, and while I cannot take the time to individually thank everyone and name everyone today, I do need to mention one person, and that is Doug Morningstar. When I asked Doug if he would help install the pedestals, there are 19 of them, he said sure. And then he proceeded to take over the entire project, and with the help of Aaron Van Besler, those 2 gentlemen installed all of the pedestals for us in a couple of days. So even though Doug's not here to hear it, thank you, Doug, and thank you, Aaron. The full list of volunteers will be posted on our Facebook page in the near future, and it will be on our webpage in perpetuity. So thank you one last time to everyone involved in that. I do have one other piece of the park that we are still going to be working on, and that is the silhouette of elevators that will become part of the entranceway here. We had some unforeseen expenses later in the day and decided that we weren't able to do that piece of the history, but in future, when you come to visit the park, we hope that you'll see a lovely steel silhouette of elevators across the entranceway here. So we know that history isn't necessarily static, and new information can come to light at any time. So even though the story of Deloraine Winchester's elevators is static here in the park, we will be updating our web pages periodically, and you'll be able to access those pages through the QR code or through I believe, the municipal site. So we will be updating history as we find new information to add. So for those of you who grew up with grain elevators, I hope Prairie Sentinels Park brings up fond memories. For those of you who aren't so familiar with them, with the small country elevators, but maybe more so with just the large terminals we have today, I hope the park is a bridge to the past for you. I'm proud of the story told here, and I'm honored to be a part of the group that made this happen. This is Deloraine Winchester Historical Society's very first project. And as the project manager, I have had tremendous support in getting this project to the completion line from the rest of the committee and from the community at large. And actually, I believe we've done Deloraine Winchester proud. And I hope you all agree. So with that, the only things left to say are, again, thank you for coming and enjoy.
picture in the front. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't get it?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. And remember, if you want to stay in our area for the rest of the evening, this will now become a licensed area. So you will have to leave, come through our security, show that you're fully vaccinated. They have scanners to do it, and come and enjoy and dance the rest of the evening with us. Thank you.